Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes, and it is July 14th, 8:06 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm bringing you more Q-related news. Now, Q has not posted since July 4th, I believe, so it's 10 days of darkness that we've had without Q, but this is not the first time that Q has done this, and I don't think that we have any reason to be alarmed at this point anyway. And there's been a lot of stuff in the news, and I wanted to kind of run it by you. Number one, because I think that it's stuff that we need to be aware of that's happening. Some of it is Q related. Actually, all of it in a way is Q related, but some more directly related than other bits of news. So I do have some stuff that I think is very interesting, and if I know you guys, and I think I do, then I think you'll find it interesting as well. So let's get right into that. Now, this was a bit of news from yesterday, actually, that I found and didn't have time to get into. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's extremely distasteful and upsets me a lot, and I'm used to looking at this stuff, so I think that maybe some of the more sensitive among us would find this a little bit too much, because it does go into the conversation that this person had. Villanova University official busted in child porn ring via Kik involving baby in diapers. Now, I had never heard about Kik, but apparently it is an app, a chat app. So, and apparently it's popular with pedophiles. Like I said, I've never heard of that before, so this was new to me. But interesting that this university official has been busted in this child porn ring, and that it involves such young children. Honestly, reading about this more and more about men being attracted to babies in diapers, and I don't get it. I don't want to get it, but I don't get it. And I don't understand why it's becoming so prevalent, except that evil in general is becoming so much more prevalent in society. Compare just with 10 years ago, what we're seeing today, just compare it with 10 years, and then think 20 years, and then think 30 years. It's unbelievable how far we've come, and not in a good way. So, there's stunning news surrounding a Villanova University ministry official who law enforcement agencies say used Kik Messenger to distribute illicit child pornographic images and video to other pedophiles online. 51-year-old Timothy O'Connell, the associate director of campus ministry at Villanova University, was arrested by law enforcement after a several months long investigation into a network of pedophiles who were sharing the disturbing and graphic imagery of prepubescent children across the country. The investigation dates back to February, where Justin Perez Colon, an associate of O'Connell, was involved in the transmission of child pornography to an undercover Federal Bureau of Investigations agent. On February 5th, 2018, an FBI agent acting in an undercover capacity, hereafter referred to as Online Covert Employee, or OCE, excuse me, my cat just scared me because I'm laying on this chair. It's kind of like one of those S chairs it's reclining, but it's a chair. And my cat apparently was sleeping beside me on this chair, which I wasn't aware of. And suddenly, just slowly, she tilted her head and twisted it around the computer, and it scared me. But it's the oddest thing. I wish you could have seen it. So she's given me the stink eye for some reason. Anyway, back to this, a little moment of levity there to break that up. Responded to Craigslist advertisement 647-647-5998, which was posted in the casual encounters section of the Philadelphia Craigslist site. The advertisement itself was horrendously graphic and appalling, according to the FBI. Kik crazycock213 and email me. I'll send my number. Looking to share real incest stories, fetish stories, underage pedo stories. I have real experience and pictures, but enjoy talking to those about their fantasies. HMU, not sure what that stands for, anytime. or kick or email me for my number, and maybe we can link up, Justin Peter Colin said to the FBI agent. And it does go on into their conversation, and I don't think it's necessary to cover that because it does involve an infant baby girl, in which he is taking pictures of his genital beside this person and pulling aside her diaper so that her genitals can be seen, and he is sending this to other people. So this person, I am certainly glad that they have been caught, along with some other people that have been associated with him. We're seeing this more and more under Trump. These pedophiles seem to be going down in huge numbers, and I can't be happy enough about it, because I just don't think that there's anything worse than harming a child, especially sexually, because it affects them their entire life. So let's go back. Now, this is an interesting article. Cat is still giving me the stink eye. I'm not sure why. Who paid for this chair, baby cat? Who paid for it? It's about time. I've supported you for 21 years, and I think it's about time you went out and got a job. Anyway, here we are here. Watch, Jehovah Witness official says to destroy records because Satan's coming after us. Are you sure it's Satan? A Jehovah Witness official delivered an urgent message to a group of elders at a 2017 seminar in Britain. The time has come to rethink the record-keeping policies of the organization, which has come under fire for its handling of child sex abuse complaints. Sean Bartlett, the witness record management overseer, explained that handwritten notes and drafts of internal documents needed to be destroyed because of the potential legal harm they pose to the organization, which has 8 million followers worldwide and more than a dozen congregations in the Philadelphia area. The question is, why has this come up? Bartlett said, according to a video recording of the seminar that was leaked online earlier this year by an anonymous insider. We're not going to watch that, but, well, we know that the scene of this world is changing, and we know Satan's coming after us, and he's going to go for us legally. We can see by the way things are shaping up. So the organization has said, we've run into difficulties in the past because of the records we have. A judge in California fined the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York, the Witnesses' corporate nonprofit, more than $2 million last year for refusing to turn over a secretly compiled list of 775 suspected child molesters within the organization. Well, I would have to say to you, this organization, that it is definitely not Satan that is coming after them. It is the law. And if they are withholding suspected child molesters, then they are certainly at fault and on the wrong side of the law, and it has nothing to do with Satan, because it certainly would not be Satan that would want these child molesters prosecuted, would it? No, he would want them to be out and free and able to abuse more and more children. The Watchtower also has settled multiple lawsuits filed by former members across the country, many of whom claimed that they were sexually abused as children and that their abusers were protected by elders who enforced the millenarian religion's rules, like one that requires sexual assault victims to find 2 eyewitnesses to support their allegations. Publicly, Watchtower leaders insist that they abhor child abuse and don't provide cover for predators. In the video, Bartlett never mentions the sex abuse lawsuits directly, but he explains the need for elders to be mindful of handwritten records and other files that could prove to be a liability. At one point during the seminar, Bartlett told the attendees that they should destroy drafts of any documents in their possession. And the reason is because there's many comments that are sometimes made on drafts, he said. Those are the ones that get us in trouble. The witnesses declined to make Bartlett available for an interview or to discuss his comments from the video. The footage is no longer available on YouTube. A message on the website notes that the material was removed at the request of Watchtower. Now, they're not the only ones. The Jehovah Witnesses, it's easy for us to point the finger at them, but they're not the only ones, because I have been aware of churches where this was covered up. It was covered up because they said, well, yes, they were in the girls' bathroom, and yes, they were, trolling for little girls and wanting to look at little girls, but they've confessed and Jesus has forgiven them, given them. Well, yes, that's true. If they have indeed asked for forgiveness, they are in fact forgiven, but that does not mean they are forgiven by the law. There are always consequences to those things that we do wrong. Just like if we murder somebody, we can confess this before the Lord, and the Lord does indeed forgive us, but we are still liable to pay the penalty of our sin here on earth, at least. And so there. That's all I have to say about that. But I am aware of situations in a few churches I've been in where things like that, things of that nature, were covered up because so-and-so is friends with so-and-so, and so-and-so's on the deacon board, and, they're a good person. They didn't mean it, and they're sorry, and they won't do it again. So, you know how it goes. Churches tend to harbor this type of thing at times. Now, yeah, just because somebody goes to church doesn't mean they're a Christian. Just because somebody, sits in a vat of grease doesn't make them a French fry. So there we go. Well, let's go back, and now we have this, and this is from the 13th. So this was yesterday, but it is a few days old, I believe, because I remember reading this a few days ago. Harvey Weinstein denies admitting he offered acting jobs in exchange for sex. Now, actually, I thought I had just read recently where he had admitted that he had exchanged acting jobs for sex. So this actually was not what I was expecting to see here. I must have grabbed the wrong one. He denies admitting he offered. Okay, I'm sorry. First day with the new mind. He denies admitting that he offered acting jobs in exchange for sex because it was out there that he had admitted that he did. Now, of course, he offered acting jobs in exchange for sex, because I don't think anybody would just sleep with him willy-nilly, do you? Just saying. So anyway, there's that. And let's look at this. We're getting into a little bit different topics here. This one enraged me, and I hope it enrages you too. Speaking of we're speaking about children that are unable to defend themselves. Well, animals are unable to defend themselves either, and we are to have stewardship over them. And part of that involves their humane treatment. The Bible actually says that, what is it? A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast. In the biblical times, they weren't even allowed to muzzle the grain that muzzle the ox that tread the grain. So if you had an ox that was going around in a circle and treading the grain, it was against biblical law, Levitical law, to muzzle that animal, because it was believed that if that animal was doing work for you, it deserved to eat, and rightly so. So the Bible has always maintained the ethical treatment of animals. So the UK government declares animals do not have ability to feel pain. Now, you would have to be a completely brain dead individual or have never been around an animal ever to believe that. If you have ever had a pet of any sort, whether it be a hamster, a guinea pig, a rabbit, I don't care, a dog, a cat, whatever, you know that an animal experiences pain. You know that. So it's obviously about somebody's checkbook. And without even going further, I can assure you that this is all about money, because anyone with more than 2 neurons to rub together realize that animals have feelings. You can look at animals who have lost their, a dog that's lost their puppies, or a cat that's lost its kittens, and they show emotion. I watched not that long ago in horror, actually, because I was in a busy parking lot, and these geese, Canada geese, were crossing with their little goslings, tiny little things, and the Canada goose was able to hop up onto the curb, but the little guys could not, and the cars were going by, and the wind from the cars going by was, upsetting the little ones, and they were scattering, and the mama was trying to gather them together. And I did see that some people had stopped to help the mother gather her little babies and get them to safety. But watching something like that, you realize that mother duck put herself in danger, allowing others to help her get her babies. And I've seen this time and time again. I watched another thing on YouTube one time about a duck. Her ducklings had fallen into a grate, and she wouldn't leave them. And she actually went up to human beings and asked for help, knowing that they alone would be able to get the grate off and save her ducklings, which they did. So, yeah, anybody saying that an animal does not have feelings is a little out there. So the UK government has outdone itself when it comes to abusing animal rights by effectively declaring that all animals, apart from humans of course, have no emotions or feelings, including the ability to feel pain. And I mean, I'm sure that makes them feel better about what they're doing. The same thing with, late-term abortions, and they're saying, oh, it's just a clump of cells, but that baby, when it's born, looks like a baby. It has fingers and toes and everything that a normal human being has, and it most certainly does feel pain, but that would be too upsetting to the liberals, so they have to say that no, it's just a clump of cells, it's not alive yet. So the new legislation means commercial laboratories will be free to test animals with as much cruelty as they wish, and no pain relief, because apparently animals don't feel pain, and farms will be less and less regulated. While debating the Brexit bill, the government voted against legislation which recognizes that animals have sentience and can feel pain and emotion. Once Britain leaves the EU in 2019, it's not only badgers and foxes that will be threatened by this change in law, but all animals that aren't pets. So basically all animals that it will be profitable to exploit. The Independent reports, this report comes in contrast to extensive scientific evidence that shows that other animals do have feelings and emotions, some even stronger than ours. But politicians clearly think that they know better about animal brains than the majority of scientists on the planet. That's because they have animal brains, and not intelligent animal brains like, pigs. Pigs have the intelligence of 8-year-olds, believe it or not, and we eat them. It's sad, but dolphins have, we're talking like maybe bird brains. That's the kind of brains that these politicians have. The complete lack of logic leads me to believe that many of our MPs probably have less intelligence than a jellyfish. Oh, I think that that's actually giving them too much. I think that they probably have the IQ of soap dishes, personally, but unfortunately I don't have any stake in Parliament to vote through my personal opinions, unlike those politicians. Realistically, though, who would be surprised by this new vote? Despite Michael Gove's call to improve animal welfare standards post-Brexit, we all know the government, and in fact most of the UK public, doesn't really care about animals unless they're cute and fluffy. Animal welfare in the government's, and indeed the public's eye, is riddled with double standards. At the moment, 80% of the UK animal welfare legislation comes from the EU. If we're voting out the fact that animals are sentient, why wouldn't we even bother with the rest of it? If the government doesn't believe that animals can ever feel pain, surely none of their rights will be protected at all. When we leave the EU, pets will be protected by the Animal Welfare Act 2006. But where does this leave wild animals, those in labs and those in other forms of captivity? Just a small example of this is cosmetic testing. Under EU law, it is illegal to test on animals for cosmetics like body wash and nail varnish. But this could easily be scrapped, just like the recognition of animals as sentient beings has been. We are looking at a very grim future for animals where labs are free to test on animals with as much cruelty as they wish and no pain relief, because apparently animals don't feel pain and farms are less and less regulated. So that is upsetting to me as an animal lover, and I'm sure to many, if not most, of you as well. Now, to something completely different. This was interesting to me as well. Thought quite possibly it would be interesting to you as well, because something that we all have in common, every single one of us who call ourselves human, is the fact that the moment we are born, we begin to die. So aging is something that applies to every single one of us. No matter what our age, we are going to get older. Key regenerative stem cell found, which could lead to human regeneration and anti-aging. Now, this is something that I have been following avidly for quite some time, because I happen to believe in stem cell therapy if the stem cells are gotten from the person themselves. They are now able to go into your thigh bone, I believe, and extract stem cells and inject them into other parts that need regeneration, such as your back or your knees or any arthritic joint. And there has been quite a bit of success shown with this. I've been following this because of a spinal injury, so that is why this interests me, and I most certainly believe in this therapy, again, as long as it is ethically sourced. I think you know what I mean by that. So let's see what this has to say. Researchers at the Stowers Institute for Medical Research have captured the one cell that is capable of regenerating an entire organism, flatworm. These used a technique that combines genomics. I know what the word is, I'm just not sure how it's pronounced. It's having to do with the genome, of course. Single cell analysis, flow cytometry, imaging. Scientists have isolated this amazing regenerative cell, a subtype of a long-studied adult pluripotent stem cell, before it performs its remarkable act. This will propel biological studies on highly regenerative organisms like planarians, and also inform regenerative medicine efforts for other organisms like humans that have less regenerative capacity. Every multicellular organism is built from a single cell, which divides into two identical cells, then four, and so on. Each of these cells contains the exact twisted strands of DNA and is considered pluripotent, meaning it can give rise to all possible cell types in the body. Excuse me. But somewhere along the way, those starter cells, known as embryonic stem cells, resign themselves to a different fate and become skin cells, heart cells, muscle cells, or other cell types. In humans, no known pluripotent stem cells remain after birth. In planarians, they stick around into adulthood, where they become known as adult pluripotent stem cells, or neoblasts. Scientists believe these neoblasts hold the secret to regeneration. Though neoblasts have been the subject of scientific inquiry since the late 1800s, only in the last couple of decades have scientists been able to characterize this powerful cell population using functional assays and molecular techniques. Their efforts showed that this seemingly homogeneous cell population was actually a conglomeration of different subtypes with different properties and different patterns of gene expression. So, highlights prospectively isolated teraspanin plus neoblasts are adult pluripotent stem cells underlying planaria regeneration. But I think they are hoping, obviously, that this is going to lead to a solution for human aging. Because I know that with infant stem cells, like, you can inject them into any part of an adult body, and they will become the cells that surround them. So if you have a knee which needs regeneration, whatever, that is how I understand stem cells, and I have been following it because I do believe that it could be an answer for me personally in the future. So that is why I follow it. But anyway, I think that this is very interesting news. Now, let's go back, and I have one more bizarre. Yes, I readily admit that this is bizarre news. Not sure what I think about it, but let's take a look. And I think we're all aware of what is happening in Antarctica, that something is going on there that we can't put our finger on. Now, ghost particle sent from deep in space could change our understanding of the universe, scientists reveal. Now, a single strange particle from deep space, may shed light on some of the mysteries of the universe. The tiny ghost-like subatomic particle was ejected from an incredibly energetic galaxy 4 billion light years away and could solve the century-old mystery of where cosmic rays come from, as well as providing an entirely new way of looking at the cosmos. The mystery particle has made its way to scientists from the most extreme environments in the universe and will give them an unparalleled look at those intriguing regions. NASA's most stunning okay, that's something totally different. Like the discovery of gravitational waves in 2016, the latest find could give scientists an entirely new way of peering into the infinite depths of space. And just as with the earlier discovery, the new development relied on scientists spotting the tiniest disturbance down on Earth and tracking it to the mysterious black hole billions of light years away. The neutrino is the first of its kind detected, and its likely origin was traced to a blazar 4 million light years away. There, it was thrown out by a galaxy with a vast black hole at its center, flung across the universe as the cosmic consumes matter. Scientists have been mystified by cosmic rays since they were found more than a century ago, pouring down into Earth. Despite their huge number and intense power, it has been unclear where they come from. The new discovery could finally explain where cosmic rays originate. If correct, the answer would be a fittingly spectacular phenomenon deep in the universe. The neutrinos appear to be spewing out of a fast-spinning supermassive black holes, and the discovery could give us an entirely new way of looking at the universe. The particles might be a third messenger, carrying energy from elsewhere in the cosmos, in addition to light and gravitational waves. If so, the newly observed particle would be an unprecedented new way of understanding some of the most intense and mysterious phenomena in the universe. Neutrinos could be doubly helpful because they have no mass and travel in an almost entirely straight line through the universe, which makes them very difficult to detect, but very easy to track as they travel billions of light years. Neutrinos rarely interact with matter, said Professor Paul O'Brien, a member of the international team of astronomers at the University of Leicester. To detect them at all from the cosmos is amazing, but to have a possible source identified is a triumph. This result will allow us to study the most distant, powerful energy sources in the universe in a completely new way. This discovery was reportedly in 2 new papers published in the Journal of Science and was the result of work by a huge global team of researchers. These intriguing results also represent the remarkable culmination of thousands of human years worth of intensive activities by the Ice Cube collaboration to bring the dream of neutrino astronomy to reality, said Darren Grant, a professor of physics at the University of Alberta and spokesman of the Ice Cube collaboration, an international team with more than 300 scientists in 12 countries. The neutrino was found on September 22nd by the Ice Cube Observatory, a huge facility a mile beneath the South Pole. That's important. Remember that. A grid of more than 5,000 super-sensitive sensors picked up the characteristic blue Cherenkov light emitted as the neutrino interacted with ice. Having almost no mass and passing right through planets, stars, and anything else in its way, the particle traveled in a straight line from its point of origin to Earth. As a result, astronomers were able to track its trajectory back across billions of light years to its probable source. News of the detection sent astronomers into a frenzy as telescopes were pointed in the suggested direction. The search led to a blazar, a special class of galaxy containing a supermassive black hole 4 billions of light years away, just to the left of the constellation Orion. The finding was a result of a global effort to track down the source, triggered by an automated alert after the intriguing detection at the South Pole. Antarctica. The result really highlights the importance of taking a multi-messenger approach to these searches, said Eric Blothus, a research scientist in the UMD Department of Physics who led the effort over several years to create and deploy IceCube's high-energy event alert system. Any one observation made alone would likely not have let us piece together what is actually going on inside this source. A key feature of the blazars is twin jets of light and elementary particles that shoot from the poles of the swirling whirlwind of material surrounding the black hole. One of those jets happened to point toward Earth and led to one of the most profound discoveries in the history of astrophysics. The neutrino detected by IceCube is thought to have been created by high-energy cosmic rays from the jet's interaction with nearby material. Unlike high-energy neutrinos, most cosmic rays carry an electric charge that cause their trajectories to be warped by magnetic fields, making it impossible to trace their origins. By contrast, neutrinos are unaffected by even the most powerful magnetic fields. The blazar, believed to have generated the neutrino, codenamed TXS 0506 plus 056, was located in less than a minute after the IceCube team relayed coordinates for follow-up observations to telescopes worldwide. Being able to detect high-energy neutrinos will provide yet another window on the universe, scientists say. The sensational discovery of the second messenger, gravitational waves, ripples in space-time, was announced in February 2016. France Cordova, director of the U.S. National Science Foundation that manages the IceCube laboratory, said, "The era of multi-messenger astrophysics is here. Each messenger, from electromagnetic radiation to gravitational waves and now neutrinos, gives us a more complete understanding of the universe and important new insights into the most powerful objects and events in the sky." Cosmic rays were discovered in 1912 by physicist Victor Hess using instruments on a balloon flight. Later, research showed them to be made of protons, electrons, or atomic nuclei accelerated to speeds approaching that of light. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, that's a good question. It really is. Now, do I understand what all this means? No, I don't. But what I do know is that it has something to do with the South Pole, and what is at the South Pole? Of course, Antarctica. And do they continue to lead all these world personalities, heads of state and so forth, to Antarctica? What is happening there? Now, recently, the most recent visitor to Antarctica was Marina Abramovic. So that's interesting. Now, something is going on in Antarctica. Now, for a long time, I poo-pooed it and I kind of laughed at people that said stuff like that because I thought it sounded ludicrous, but I am now convinced of it because too many people, important people, are visiting Antarctica. Why? There's nothing there. Well, that we know of. That's the point, that we know of. And I do believe that there has been a pole shift at some point in the past, and I do believe that Antarctica was at some point in the past, green and lush. So I don't know what's happening there. I don't know how this is related, but I could just about guarantee you that it is. Now, what do you guys think? I'm not a physicist, not by any stretch of the imagination. So I would be really interested in what you guys think is going on in Antarctica, and if you think that this plays any part in that. Don't know, but it's interesting, and I feel that I do owe it to you guys to bring you things that I find interesting. Maybe this is not something that interests you, but I sure want to know what's going on in Antarctica. So that's it for tonight, and I'm going to leave it there. I am going to stay on top of the news and continue to bring you Q-related news, and Q, when he does post, he, she, they. And in the meantime, if you want to be subscribed and want to be notified, please click the bell. If you want to be subscribed, make sure you stay subscribed, because they do tend to all of a sudden just drop people from subscriptions that they don't agree with, or that violate or go against their chosen narrative. So anyway, have a good night and stay safe. I'll see you guys soon.